What's the plan, Tesla? Welcome back.
CyberSpace.
Empirical training. Do you know what I mean? So like empirical training.
Welcome back.
CyberSpace. It's me, Josh, from Empirical Training. I'm your usual host. Today, I'm actually not going to feature in the episode. We do these things weekly, which means sometimes life can happen. In this case, I got a bit of an eye infection and I was a bit run down at the time of recording. So I asked my colleagues, some of the other members of Empirical Training, to step in and do a Q&A with our community to really answer the questions that people who are trying to get into cybersecurity, trying to get their first job, want the answers to. And the result is really quite interesting. We have AJ, or Andrew, who is our incident response specialist. He works for financial institutions. He's worked for global banks. He's worked for more modern financial service organizations as well. So he deals on a daily basis with threats targeting his organization, trying to keep them out of the news, trying to limit any real impact that happens by responding, containing, and remediating threats before they become a big issue. And interestingly, we've got Vaughan, who is the AI security specialist. He works for an organization who are looking to add as many layers of automation into cybersecurity as makes sense, as is reasonable and as is sensible, in order to free up resources for expert human analysts who are more suited to the nuanced tasks, things like threat hunting, things like adding context. So if we can stop doing all of the kind of donkey work and leg work, then it should be automated. If we're doing things over and over again, they should be automated, which frees up time for the more high value tasks. So what's really interesting is actually our community asks a lot of questions about automation and about incident response processes and workflows. And so what you get is a really interesting conversation where they talk about how their organizations have approached automation within their different security operations teams, as well as other ones they've seen kind of succeed or fail. What is the role of automation and AI in the modern cybersecurity operations center? And where should it not be used? Where should caution be kind of leveled out? So it's a shorter episode today, but it's really worthwhile. So I hope you can enjoy this. And this is the last you'll hear of me till the end. But I'll hand it over to Vaughan and AJ, who are going to take the first question from our community.
Is this the Hive project, like the case management tool?
Yeah, I think so. I've actually been learning about this in my CSOM certification that I'm doing with my corporate job, the cybersecurity operations manager, and they got a lab in there for that.
Yeah,
and,
we use it.
Use it
as our main case management tool. Yeah.
Okay. Well, instead of an ITSM, is it, or just for incidents?
No, that is so. They go from Splunk to they trigger from Splunk into there. So that is our case management tool.
Interesting.
But we don't do. It's all internal, so we don't have customers.
Yeah, I was going to say, I guess your internal security in them.
Yeah, so we don't like have emails that we're sending out to people and stuff that often, really. So it's mostly an alerting tool, and it's actually quite hard to manage an incident in there, I find. It can be, I don't know, I can find it a bit convoluted. It's not easy to keep track of everything. But maybe I'm just not using it properly. I don't know. But
I don't know. Yeah, I've done the lab for my cert for it, and it was literally just like grab the case number, like find which process has been run, what's the file name, what's the computer name. So it's really basic stuff like.
Yeah, it is good. One of the engineers they're setting up the automations in there now, so you can use autoresponders. So for like disabling laptops, disabling accounts and stuff, instead of us going into all the other tools to do it.
That's pretty cool. Yeah, again, that SOC functionality linked up is a fucking godsend. Like,
yeah, that's what we're looking to go through now is implement. What one have we got? So. I can't remember which one we've got, but we've just purchased an automation tool. I haven't used it much yet, though. I can't remember what it's called. But that's the idea, is to try and automate some more things.
Yeah, when I was at my second company, we was looking at purchasing like a SOC tool. I can't remember what it was called. I don't think it was Mandiant. Yeah, I can't remember. But I left before they had purchased it. It was some BS. They said they were going to buy it to make our lives easier, and then all of a sudden they didn't have the funding for it or something.
Really?
That's one of the benefits with Microsoft Azure and Sentinel is like Logic Apps is built in, so you got full SOAR functionality built into the SIEM and
Okay.
resources, like, which is super handy. And that's basically what we're using to build out our whole SOC and resources. Like,
So that lets you build workflows in there, does it, to do
yeah,
sort of stuff? Oh, that's pretty
yeah, and they can directly link to incidents and stuff as well. And then you can go off an API call other websites and bring that back in and post in your comments and link up with your ITSM or your case management system to make different changes there. It's pretty neat.
Yeah, we were looking at Splunk SOAR, but we didn't go. I can't remember the one that we were looking for. But we went with another one instead. But I haven't had a chance to really use it much. But it's like one of our KPIs this year to bring on more automation, which I think everybody's is with with the new AI is everywhere. So everybody's KPI is to automate more shit.
Well, you're saying you've already got some sort of GPT, haven't you?
Yeah, they've got an internal one now, which is pretty cool.
What's the actual functionality of it? Is it actually useful, or is it more novelty?
At the moment, it's just so we can put like anything internal into it. So when we're like reviewing, like, because a lot of stuff when I was using ChatGPT, if I was reviewing maybe a file, I couldn't really put the code in there. So I would like just pull out some of the commands and stuff like that. But now I can just chuck the whole code in. But we are going to be looking at getting API keys for it, and then using that to plug into the Hive, and then to perform some. It's not going to really do much analysis, but it's going to be able to like format a summary that we can read, and then the analyst will then be able to add on top of it. Then, but yeah, that's what they're thinking at the moment, anyway.
Yeah, we haven't actually implemented any sort of GPT thing just yet, and I mean, being an AI company, I think we would have by now. The main reason is our CISO is really against OpenAI and ChatGPT.
Okay, makes sense.
He's like privacy concerns. He's he's not happy with it.
Yeah, that's why. Yeah, ours isn't. It's not OpenAI. It's what's it called? It's the open source one.
It's not Olama, is it? Or some?
Oh, it is Olama. Yeah.
No, okay.
I think it is Olama. Yeah. But again, there's still some concerns because all teams can use it. So technically, if somebody did get access to it, then they would see everything from every team. So I think they're on about holding off giving it to other teams yet until.
Because I've used some functionality as well of like these large language models, which is the sort of thing that we're going to be looking to implement, which is like speaking kind of like you've probably used like Copilot and Microsoft, so similar to that, being like, can you tell me how many times this entity has been observed in other security incidents for this customer?
Oh, okay.
So instead of just like using it as a ChatGPT methodology or framework, it can actually go off and query other incidents as well. So it can like pull back information from incidents and like KBAs and those sorts of things as well, which would be pretty cool. Like,
that's pretty good actually.
Can you read our threat hunting SOP and advise on changes to make this more, I don't know, streamlined or whatever bollocks, or like, I don't know, those sort of interactions like. But that's the sort of things that we're looking into at the moment.
Oh, that's quite good. So the company itself is focused on AI, and so they're not a managed service company, or they are? No.
We're a managed security service provider. So we got like some customers that we're doing SOC outsourcing for.
Okay, so they do SOC outsourcing, but the AI side of it is another business arm sort of thing.
No, it's the same thing. Like, we've got some AI interactions internally for like different processes to like help assist us, along with like the automation front in terms of incident triage and escalation and those sorts of things. Like, we're slowly building out the AI functionality. But like the AI sort of vein runs through SOC mainly in terms of like assisting and those sorts of things.
Oh, that makes sense. So the idea of it is to continue being a managed service company, but with a huge AI focus, where a lot of the
and this is
tasks, is it?
Yeah, and this is one of the reasons that I always say to the guys, both in empirical training and my current corporate job, like, you need to be able to portray your own security expertise, because if we're successful as a business, we're going to interweave ChatGPT and automations into the SOC analyst role, which is going to essentially erode the lower level tasks and make like the more harder tasks and the main ones that are required. Like, so people need to be on it to learn the more intense stuff, because if they're just picking low hanging fruit, they're going to be automated out eventually.
Yeah, well, I think that's where a lot of it is going, isn't it? Even with that, like even with us internal SOC, the idea is to not hire any more people and see if we can use automation to actually get rid of some of those like repetitive tasks, which will be good for analysts when they're actually working, because you'll be able to do more interesting stuff. But it makes it a lot harder to get in then, because
exactly.
I suppose it raises the bar, I guess, which is is a good thing as well.
Yeah, like we done an executive report for one of our customers yesterday, just like a quarterly review thing, and we was tracking how many automated incidents and how many manual incidents were worked for low, medium, high severities. And we could see that, like, for lower, medium severities, majority of them were now being worked by automations with only a small amount of manual work. And then that's trending down towards highs, where highs are only worked by humans. So we're starting to get like the lows and mediums, the boring shit, taken over by automation. Then all the more important stuff are being worked by the analysts now, which is cool.
Yeah, that is cool. I think that's where, because you get like analysis paralysis as well when you get too many alerts that are coming in, and
just fucking copy and pasting notes, like.
Yeah, you're just copy and pasting notes, and you're not really doing much analysis at that point, and then it kind of, you definitely lose its enjoyment. I remember like the first company that we used to work for, and when you're doing a lot of those SQL injection alerts, it's super repetitive, but it was just the way that it was at that time. And even in the bank I was working in, to be fair, it was like phishing cases, and it was clear that you could automate this at some point. Like there's always a step to it. Everything's got a process. It's like look at the semantic logs to see how many emails have come in. If you've got this amount of emails and they've successfully delivered, then just delete them, and then you could leave the analyst then actually look up to see if anybody's clicked on it and actually done the investigation there. But we had to do all the boring crap, and you'd be doing like 20 of those phishing cases, sometimes even more a day, and like you say, copy and paste in the notes and stuff. And I don't know what they're like there now, but
the better, hopefully. But it's gonna be mind-numbing at times, can't it? Which is why, like you're saying, you guys are looking to do automation-based stuff. We're looking to do automation-based stuff, and it seems to be a bit of a revolution now with SOCs trying to actually take automation serious, as opposed to just saying they are.
Well, it was always a bit of a joke, really, I thought, before, where people would say we're doing automation, and then there was never really any proper automation there. Or there would always be a goal or KPI at the end of the year, would do more automation, but nobody could really define what that was. But it does seem now that it is kind of going somewhere, which is actually quite interesting. But again, like you were saying, makes it more difficult for entry-level people to get in. But it doesn't mean it's impossible. It's just raising the bar higher, which is hopefully something that we could kind of prove through a lot of our training, to be honest. We can show them like actual analysis, because even though I've spoken to a lot of managers and things in the places that I work, and they're actually like, but this is what he said, that there isn't actually that many good security analysts out there. And he said that a lot of them, if they were trying to do some of the tasks that we were doing, they wouldn't be able to do it, even just like doing a bit of reverse engineering or basic phishing analysis and things like that. They're more used to just click and close, because I actually remember, I'm not shitting on CrowdStrike, but I had an interview with them, and I was speaking to one of the analysts, and they just didn't have any excitement there. I said, "Oh, what analysis do you do?" And they were like, "Oh, the CrowdStrike's Falcon does everything for us." And I was like, "Oh, okay. What analysis do you do?" He says, "Oh, no, nothing much really." And I was like, "Oh,
copy and paste monkey, like."
Yeah, I was like, "Okay." And then I did get an offer there, but I picked this place instead because it just seemed way more exciting. I was like, "Yeah."
What level was the CrowdStrike one you was offered? Because I know the different roles and the salaries that they offer for them. Like, was it the first one, the middle one, or the senior one?
I went for the senior one, but I was like 1 point to 2 points off from the mid. So I think it was the middle one, but they said that you could get to the senior in like a couple of months.
I mean, the middle one was still a fat salary, mind.
Yeah, they offered me 5K, I think. For
Yeah, I think, yeah, I'm pretty sure. Yeah, the senior was like 80 or 85. It's fucking mental.
Yeah, no, I remember the offer came in. I was like, "Jeez!" Like,
Damn.
yeah, I was like, "That's decent, to be fair." And then I was talking to one of our old bosses actually, and I went for a beer with him down the bay, and
Oh, yeah.
I was telling him that I'd come in, and because they're obviously similar companies, aren't they? And he was like, "Well, we're nowhere near that level," and he was wondering how they were even able to like keep up with those kind of salaries. But I guess they're always bringing on new customers, and
Yeah, and they're a public company as well, and they CrowdStrike. They got SOCs fucking all over the globe. They got Australian SOCs and fucking South African and all that sort of stuff. Like,
so we got a question from Pierre. Does that automation work based on HTTP status codes?
we spoke a lot about automation there. You might need to specify what you're talking about, but you can make automations work based on HTTP status codes. So with the API calls that you're doing with automations, you can get it to check for certain response codes, and if certain response codes happen, then go down one path or another path. Think of it like a logical flow. So if 200 status code, do this. If 404, do this. If forbidden, do this. So yeah, you can do a lot of if cases off the back of a lot of automations.
Yeah, definitely. I think that's like Sophia's comment as well. Yeah, if it's repetitive, automate it. And was it what's the
Speaking my language.
If you're repeating something over and over again, it's the definition.
Yeah, the definition of insanity. If you do the same thing over and over again and expect a different outcome.
Yeah, that's it. I've definitely been there as well with being what we used to call ourselves incident monkeys and just doing the same thing over and over again and hoping that something more interesting would come along. But
fucking Apache struts, like,
oh Christ, yeah, Apache struts, SQL injections. But
yeah,
again, I guess that was our kind of like boot camp, though, wasn't it? That helped me get into the industry because it was a lower barrier, but it is definitely going to get harder.
Yeah, 100%. Which again is why I try and preach about people getting in now rather than later, like on all of the consultation calls we're doing and in the video recordings in the free community. I've got one about the analyst and automation, and I literally say in there, it's going to get harder in the next 5 years. Same as in the last 5 years, like we're saying, you could get a SOC analyst job 5 years ago a lot easier than you can now. And that's not going to stop. It's going to get a lot harder in the next 5 years. So the best time to actually try is right now.
Yeah, that is true.
Thank you very much, Vaughan and AJ. Now, that was a really good listen. Maybe I should not turn up more often because actually they really hit some good points there. It's a really real discussion, actually. I learned a lot about how different operation centers operate. Really interesting to see how Vaughan's company is all built on AI, and yet where they are choosing to be very cautious and where they see the wins versus potential losses of over-automation or more accurately, over-reliance upon automation, as well as some really great questions again from our community to kind of ask, hey, how does this actually work? We looked at the TheHive Project. That was actually a really interesting question that threw up some interesting responses because AJ has used that in a professional capacity. So these open source tools are commonly used. It depends what your use case might be. You don't always have to go and buy a proprietary tool, which is great for people trying to get hands-on experience without trying to get a job. It means you can download these tools, you can play around with them, you can set them up in your home environment, and you can actually create that experience for yourself. Don't wait for someone to give it to you. Go out and get the experience. And as Vaughan said, now is really the best time to be getting into cybersecurity while those entry-level jobs are still plentiful. Before in the future, he sees more and more of those things being automated away. And of course, that will free up time for people, but I wonder exactly where that will be or how difficult it might be in the future to get that first role in a cybersecurity team. So thank you so much for listening. Hope you like the shorter format. I think we're going to try and keep them a little bit shorter because we do tend to waffle on a little bit sometimes. So maybe just, it's a great conversation, but maybe we'll snap them up so they're a bit more digestible. But as always, give us your feedback wherever you're listening to this now. We love to hear it. It really does shape what we're doing. And if you do want to get involved in this conversation, if you want to talk to us on a daily basis, you have questions, perhaps you want to feature on the podcast next time, not as a voice, not as a talking head, but as somebody asking the questions, driving the conversation forward. Come join our community, join our chat, and we'll get you involved in the next one. So thank you very much for listening. It's been the CyberSpace podcast by Empirical Training. My name is Josh, and that is a wrap. CyberSpace podcast.
Empirical training, you guys are inside. Do you know what I mean? So like, empirical training, that's a wrap.
CyberSpace podcast.